Love it.
Champions!
That's
Yay! And this is where I changed our background. So now I have the Lombardi Trophy in our conversation in the center of us because you, my friend, are a Super Bowl champion again. And again, was that your first?
No, this is number 20, the LOB team, 2013.
Correct. Okay. I was like, second. Okay, cool. So congratulations. And I always say, whenever somebody wins a Super Bowl, when they talk to me, now you're stuck. Now you always have to talk to me. Now
Those are the rules. That's the way it goes. Right?
I don't write the rules. Okay. I just live through them.
Yeah,
So
I'm not, I'm not fully superstitious, but I'm a little stitious, right? So for sure.
I love it. So how are you feeling being a Super Bowl champion? I haven't been able to talk to you since you all won. I know I sent like a congratulations, but then after that, I haven't really been able to connect with you. So how are you feeling? How did it feel? How was the game for you? I want all the details.
Yeah, thank you. And we had some great DMs and back and forth. And I'm always really excited to watch you and just watch what you're doing. And I think you go about this in a really cool way, and you bring in so many people. So congrats on everything. You're still charting that in a good way. How does it feel? So look, there was a certain point of the season last year, basically like weeks 12 through 16, 17, where the consensus around Seattle, Seahawks fans and on the podcast was like, hey, if our run game gets into a next gear, we're probably winning the whole thing. The Rams may beat us because they were right there with us and you tip the hats and all that stuff. But they lost, we won. And then the Super Bowl was just, it was very much like 2013 in the sense that the NFC Championship versus the Niners back then really was the Super Bowl. And then the NFC Championship versus the Rams this year, it really was the Super Bowl. Patriots had a nice year. As Richard Sherman said it best, you think this is a matchup, mismatch. So we went in very confident into the Super Bowl, and that proved out. So it was fun. Yeah. It was this was a really fun season. And a lot of people are like, oh, we didn't expect it. No, I did not. I didn't expect the Super Bowl run. To be lying if I said that's what I thought the outcome was. But year one of Mike Macdonald, we won 10 games, and you saw like, okay, there's a legit defense right there. And if a couple things click, this can be a very difficult out. And that's how it resulted. So very happy. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Whenever we talked last year around this time, that's what you said. You were like, I don't know. I feel pretty confident about this. Like if we do this and this, and it worked. So I love that. And I love when I know people who know teams that win, because there's no better feeling in sports than when your team is winning. You can be more critical of them because they're winning, and you get to like talk trash because they're winning. And it's just like the best sports thing. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to just get into like, okay, now what, right? Like you get to remain a champion until the football kicks off for officially in the first regular season game for 2026. But before that, you all had a draft. How was the draft for you? If you could describe it in one word, what would you say to describe your draft?
Yes. So the word of the day for the Seahawks draft, in my opinion, was responsible. It was a very responsible draft. And so we argue on the Seahawkers podcast, or at least my position to our audience, when folks are like, best player available. I think for most teams, BPA is actually a myth. I don't think GMs actually do it. I think what they do is they match up some version of that. Yes, they want a great player, but they're filling needs. They're always filling needs. It might be a need that you don't see quite yet. It might be coming around the corner in 2 more years, and they can project a contract challenge, but it's always needs based. And people are like, just take the best player. I'm like, out of your mind. Just, okay. Hey, Rams at Ty Simpson, pick 13, best player available. Like it's so dumb. Go get people that can help you in Super Bowl windows, which we are obviously in. But so they did that, right? And we'll talk about those players, but this was needs based. While I think they might have gotten a couple of new starters. And last thing is, we only started with 4 picks because we traded Rashid Shaheed last year, at the deadline basically, and we traded him for a 4th and a 5th, and he was great for us. So great trade, but that left us in a deficit. But John Schneider is a wizard, and he takes 4 picks. He makes them 8 picks, but he still had 3 picks in the top 100. And I'm excited to chat with you about that stuff.
Okay. Well, let's get into those.
If you like the content that you're getting, don't forget to hit that like button. Leave us a comment in the comment section below, and I'll let you get back to your video.
So is there a day 2, day 3 pick that you think is going to end up being a steal?
I think so. I think there absolutely could be. And so there's one dude that I think every Seahawks fan watching is going to be like, he's going to say that guy. And then anybody else who's, outside of that area or fandom, hopefully interesting to you. But with our fifth pick, what we did was, let's see, how do we end up with him? Yes. So what happened is we ended up trading back up a number of picks, and we traded up in the 5th round, and we took Bo Stevens, the guard from Iowa. And even though John was maneuvering a lot, he accumulated some picks, and then he spent a 2027 4th rounder traded to the Browns, which next year's draft, Florida is supposed to be stacked. That's the word on the street, right? More valuable than this year. So we traded up.
I have things to say about that, but
I don't watch a lot of college. I watch it.
I know.
I watch it after.
And that is why that is the huge disconnect. Is that's it, right? It's like there's NFL fans, there's college football fans, but a lot of people don't know what's happening in college football right now. So, anyways,
I'd love to get your perspective on that. At some point for sure. So we trade a 4th for this year's 5th, right? Gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. And that hamburger was Iowa beef Bo Stevens. So
I love it.
That Iowa team had 3 dudes, that Iowa offensive line, they won the Joe Moore award for best offensive line this year with the Iowa Hawkeyes. They play wide zone. They play zone scheme. Their dudes are athletic. You could look at their spider, charts, and all their 3 cones are off the charts because their short area quickness is really good. We run wide zone. So we get this piece of Iowa beef in the 5th round who, depending on who you ask, many folks had him, as a potential 3rd rounder, certainly by the 4th round, feeling really quite stealish. And again, needs-based. Our weak link on the offensive line, I think he gets a bum rap in many ways because he's healthy and he was always there. But Anthony Bradford's the one who gets a lot of the heat on the Seahawks offensive line. And there's some reason he does, but Bo Stevens will come in right away. And if not compete, he has a real good shot of taking that right guard position.
I love it. Anytime a fan comes up here and starts talking about an offensive line, I'm like,
it.
Sign me up for that. Sign me up.
Seahawks. That's the beautiful part about Seahawks fans. Like most of them are really in. They're in on this, and they want. We want to run the football. We saw what happens when you recommit to running the football. Yeah, and and then you pair it with a good quarterback and a nice scheme. To us, that's the way that's the right way to be a consistent offense in the NFL, which matters a lot.
I love it. And I will be honest and say, I just got to start. I was so excited to talk to you. I just started talking to you. But if you made it to this part in the video, we are doing a 32 fan series, and I'm talking to one fan from all 32 all 32 teams of the NFL. I will also have Clinton's information in the description of the show notes. So if you need to find him, his link will be there. You can click. You can find all things Seahawks. I personally love the way that they talk about football because it's not just football per se, it's all the nuances and like the behind the scenes and thinking through things. And I feel like it's an engaging conversation more than it is just like, this is what I think and feel. It's more of like, this is what I think and feel, and this is why. And so I always appreciate anytime I get to listen in. I have so many people I listen to that it's actually insane sometimes where I'm like, no, I heard you say that. No, I remember that conversation. So it's always fun for me. So sorry I didn't say the beginning. I just wanted to applaud you from winning the Super Bowl.
Well, so you had that amazing intro, so zero apologies. Yeah, like, the Lombardi's still on screen, so thank you.
Yes, I love it. So who's the one player from your draft class that you think will make the biggest immediate impact?
Yeah, there's only one answer here. That's Jadarian Price, right? Running back, Notre Dame, pick number 32 overall. Yeah. There was some consternation in Seahawks circles, again, fans about like, here's another thing I can't stomach and I just reject it. And I say so is like, in the first round, you have to have the draft value. So you have to take a corner, you have to take a defensive tackle. Cool. It's nice if they're there, but you could take the 5th edge or the 6th edge, or you could go get a running back in a 5th-year contract who, for all intents and purposes, is like the clear number 2 and would have probably been the starter, like legitimately, on, I would say, every other college program in the nation besides Notre Dame. And if you dig into the dude, he had NIL opportunities to go double his money and leave Notre Dame. He didn't want to. He wanted to be at Notre Dame. He loved his teammates. He loved the RB1.
Yeah.
But he wanted to graduate from Notre Dame. It mattered to him that he stayed at that university, which to me matters a lot. Kind of talks to him about as a man. And if you heard him talk just yet, I think he's a I know he's smart because I could just listen to the dude. I'm like, this guy's got it between the ears. But the way he runs, Flawed, like, again, we run wide zone. He is exceptional. His vision is sick. And he could put the pivot or the plant leg down and get upfield, and his bursts from deciding to, 0 to 60, it's elite. So he's kind of, in my opinion, he's kind of a real perfect fit for our scheme.
I like it.
And I think he's going to be, if you're drafting in fantasy and a dynasty draft and stuff like that, he's got to be way up on the board because the opportunity is going to be there for him, I think, right away to at least be sharing in the backfield. Got to remember too, folks might have forgotten, K9's gone, right? He went with the Chiefs, Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, and Charbonnet hurt his ACL in the NFC Championship game. He tore his ACL. So again, needs based, but also an elite talent. So very excited about Price. I think he's going to be a pretty immediate impact dude in Seattle.
Okay, that's great. Is there a player that your team passed on multiple times that you think will come back to haunt you? Or is there a player that you maybe wanted to really draft that it just didn't happen that you were watching in the draft this year?
There's one for sure. I'd say there's two. So we ended up getting Bo Stevens and we get him in the 5th round. But we had multiple opportunities to grab Pregnon from Oregon, another really big guard. I mean, there's tons of guards out there, but a really skilled guard that he kept falling. Jacksonville takes him at spot 88. So, and he was being projected in some mocks to go to Seattle at 32. So I kind of fell in love with him. You get your draft crushes, right? I was like, oh, this guy would be a plug and play guard. And he looks really good. He kept falling down the board. Now I think they, quote unquote, fixed it when they got Stevens, who was also high. I think he really could play football. But to me, the dude, if I had to place a bet on a single guy that was not a first rounder, who I think will be a very successful NFL player, it'd be D'Angelo Pons from Indiana, the cornerback. Like that dude, I don't care these 5'8.5", 5'9". Do you have eyes? Do you watch film? Like the guy brings his hat. He's instinctive. He just hits dudes. We did nice. We got a nice corner in the 3rd round. We got a great safety, I think, in the 2nd round. But Pons was there, and we passed on him at least once. Yeah, it was just once. And he would have been cool to make a move for, because I think he's going to be a player. Now he's a Jet, so we got to see if that works because of the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, fair. You know what? That's a very fair statement. So with the team, this is always hard for me when you come off a Super Bowl, because the right answer is, success looks like repeating and going back to back. Like I'm aware of that.
Sure.
So we'll just say that, yes, that's a goal. So I'll give you that. What else do you want to see from this team that will help you know, like, okay, you know what, this might be sustainable to see this going? Now, I know you want to win the championship again. I mean, I get it. But like, what else is there that you're kind of thinking about measuring where you're like, if for some reason we don't, but this lets me know at least we're still where we need to be?
Yeah. So I thought about this one and more than the others, because the cop out easy answer is, go back to back, repeat.
Right.
Of course. Yes. That's what all 32 teams want to win the Super Bowl. So it's really no different than saying win the Super Bowl. So to be a bit more, a click or two down, it's like, what are the biomarkers that we have a shot to win the Super Bowl again? Right. The roster's there. That didn't change. We lost some talent, but like that, you still got Leo Williams, still got Byron Murphy, like still got Ernest Jones. Murphy. Yeah, exactly. You love Murphy. You still got Devin Witherspoon, Nicky Manwari, like Julian Love. This is a loaded defense. So that's like Batman protecting Gotham. We're cool over there. Like, speaking of dark side, we're cool on defense. Flipping over to the offense, we get a brand new coordinator. Clint Kubiak does his one and done, but hey, got the chip. He's now with the Raiders as their head coach. Cool. We bring in this guy Fleury, who was the tight ends coach for the 49ers. So he's coming from the Shanahan-y, McVay-y, which is the Kubiak-y wide zone scheme anyway. What I think we need to see is, we lose K9, and towards the end of the year last year, teams were starting to figure out how to take away JSN over the top. And we had enough talent to spread it around. And just as that was happening, our run game got better. So we didn't need that. It supplemented it. We controlled the ball more often, but JSN's production dropped a little bit, and his explosives dropped, a decent amount. That's kind of unsustainable if you can't run the ball. So with a brand new offensive coordinator, it's just like, okay, can we be pretty good out of the gate? Do we have to wait until like week 11, week 12, week 13 to be really successful at running the football again? Or can we carry over that success, and let's say by like week 3, week 4, look like a really balanced team that can run the football right away? If we see that right away, I think the rest falls into place. That's what I would look at. But yes, win the Super Bowl, but the path there is going to be, can we run the ball well? And I think we'll be able to, but there's, we did lose our most dynamic running back, and that's something.
It is. So which position group worries you the most at this point?
So I think the leanest is still going to be, I just went on for about 37 minutes talking about how Batman's got Gotham and that's our defense, but I'm going to go to the defense and say our cornerback room is, we lost Tariq Woolen, and what Tariq Woolen was and was not, what he was, a phenomenal man corner, really good. What he wasn't, kind of a dog who would really bring his hat and crash down the line and make a lot of tackles. There's there, but there's only so many dudes that are 6'4" and change, 4'3" with his wingspan. He was special in that way. So right now the depth chart is like, okay, you got Spoon, who's a very good outside corner, but he also gets played in different positions and Mike McDonald things. You got Josh Jobe, who's a very solid, cornerback number 2. And then there's this pile of we don't know. There's Nehemiah Pritchett's. There's this guy Noah we just brought in over the offseason as a kind of a small free agent signing. And then we drafted Julian Neal from Arkansas with our 3rd pick, 99th overall, physical corner, bigger body.
Okay.
I think he'll fit in culturally for sure. He's way more of a press man than a zone type guy. And I think that'll fit what McDonald wants to do. But in general, Flood, that is like, we're an injury away, or Seattle plays tons of nickel and dime. We put a lot of DBs on the field because we have some jokers or star type players with Witherspoon and Eamon. We are okay to go smaller and still defend the run because we have Byron Murphy and Leo and et cetera, et cetera. But that cornerback room is a little bit thinner than it was last year for sure. And that's a concern.
That's valid. That's so valid. And where has this team improved the most, though, from last year?
I don't know yet. That's one where I think we're going to have to see. I think I could tell you where I think it'll show up. And for the rest of the NFL, this might be bad news. So we already have a really good defensive line, and there was a dude. If folks remember the Super Bowl, the second sack of the game. There's a guy absolutely beasting there. Was that their center at the time? I think that was who's playing center. Yeah. So there's a guy on Seattle, and I'll name him in a second, but it's a little suspenseful. And he just absolutely manhandles rookie Jared Wilson, pushes him into the backfield, pushes him into Drake May's lap, and sacks Drake May with one arm. That dude was rookie Riley Mills from Notre Dame, Seahawks rookie last year. He was nearly redshirted because he tore his ACL basically right before the college playoff run with Notre Dame the year before. So the entire year they're like, we're probably not going to see Riley Mills. This is a dude who was probably going to be a 2nd round type defensive tackle talent. Like that was where he was projected before injury. He drops to the 5th round. This is the 2025 draft. Drops to the 5th round. And people are like, okay, if we could be a little patient and he comes back the way we think he will, this might be a steal because he's an interior guy who can create pressure. That's a premium in the NFL, absolute premium. That's most people. Maybe you're a run stuffer, but like if you could create pressure from a 3 technique or a 1, you got something there.
Yeah.
So Riley Mills can do that. So if we're adding a dude to this line, you look across the line, you're like, okay, there's Derek Hall, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Jaron Reed, and oh, by the way, Leo Williams and Byron Murphy. And now you bring in another guy that when they rotate, it's like they didn't miss a beat. That defensive line could actually be better than last year. And again, I will just say for the NFL, the rest of the NFL, like, good luck with that.
Yeah. I love it. Is there anything that you think that your team will do better than most teams in the NFL? Like, what is you all's, I know, I feel like if you've watched football at all last year, Seattle Seahawks have a good defense. Like, that is obviously a given. And that would probably be the easiest answer would probably be like, play defense, like, of course. But is there anything, or is there any like position groups or anywhere where you were kind of thinking like, we're actually really good there, but nobody really talks about that group specifically because as a whole, we're just really good?
So I think some, sorry about that. Let me just close that out. I think some folks talk about what I'm about to talk about next. I'd say the average NFL fan maybe didn't see it, right? And they just go, okay, yeah, Seattle's got a nice defense. It's like, yes, they do. And we're naming the players as to why they do. And Mike McDonald's a very good schematic defensive mind. Cool. But why does it work is because Seattle has something that most of the NFL does not have. Seattle has the ability to go out there and play, we're in nickel a ton in nickel. But it's kind of like a cheating nickel. It's almost a 4-3 because Nick Imanwari, who is out there as a quote unquote safety in this nickel package, he's not really playing nickel. He's kind of playing de facto linebacker. And then Witherspoon, Devin Witherspoon, between those two dudes, you got chess pieces that we could go light, right? So that's what happens, right? Okay. We could go out there with DBs, with 5 DBs out there that could all cover and they could all hit. Cool. So it's difficult to dink and dunk against this team. And so that's hard right away. We got an interior that's really good. Like DeMarcus Lawrence at age 34, he still might be the best run stuffing defensive edge in the entire league, setting the edge, et cetera, et cetera. But when you have 2 dudes who are defensive backs, but in reality, they actually play a lot like linebackers, it just flips the script because they're so talented that they could run with a move tight end and cover them down the seam and you're not going anywhere. Or they could play out at the boundary with dudes who run a 4-3 and they're pressing you with man. These guys are so versatile in how they play the game. And so we could play with 5 DBs and you still cannot run against our 5 DBs. And then good luck passing against that because there's just way more bodies out there. It makes it very difficult for NFL offenses to be consistently, moving the ball against us. You suffer a lot of negative plays versus Seattle. Oh yeah. A lot of negative plays.
With you all, what I actually think you all do better than anybody in the NFL, honestly, is your entire special teams unit.
Oh, that's great.
All of it. Yeah. Like from punt, kickoff, all of it, the kicker, the punter, like the punt returner, the kickoff return, like that. And we don't talk about it enough because it's special teams, but it's like 1/3 of the team. But when you win 1/3 of that, most of the time you're going to win more games than anyone because it's so important. Field position is so important. The Super Bowl, field position, kicking field goals, just getting points on the board. Premium. Like you can't quantify that other than that's what helps you win games. And it's one thing I noticed this year where I was like, wow, they have all 3 phases of the game. And you don't say that very often. Usually you're like, well, we kind of have to cover for this a little bit. But I believe the punter went to the University of Texas, but semantics.
Yeah. He's the man, the Aussie man himself. But I do want to, jump on that point a second because you could juxtapose what Seattle does, which is like they put a premium on this as an organization. We had at one point, the highest paid place kicker, the highest paid punter. We trade a 4th and a 5th to go get Rashid Shaheed, which dude will have 3 returns in a short time in Seattle. So the emphasis is already there. And then you look at like the Rams, who it's like they just nearly don't care. It's like it's almost as if they took a I don't know, a middling quarterback with pick 13 and figured that'd be good this year. But they kind of ignore special teams. And then in the NFC Championship game, what do you see? You see a muff punt off that dude's shoulder pads, and we're right on it. Seattle special teams, it's a great point by you, and I love that you brought it up, because Seattle special teams really was so incredibly consistent. And then even with the squib kicks, with the new kickoff rules, it's like, no, we were never kicking into the end zone, ever. Yeah. We figured it out. And like our team's starting position against us was either like first or second in the whole league. Like Jason Myers figured out, I know how to land the ball at the 0 yard line,
Yeah.
Yards are a premium, especially when a dude can kick 70-yard field goals, because that's what's happening now. And the average starting position's like 32, 33. And we're getting the teams to like start at 26. It matters so much. So great point by you.
Yeah. So, and it was one of my favorite things. And of course, now it's like my battle cry, because now I used to say it and people would be like, girl, let it go. But now I at least have somebody to point to, because you all did it. And then Indiana in the playoffs, they had the block punt. They were also, pinning Miami back. So it's like now I can talk about it, because people are like, well, okay, she does have a point. So I love that. And I love to see that.
And I know you're a Steelers fan, and not to bring up a sore subject, but when Seattle played the Steelers in week 2, we had the kickoff. We had the kickoff, right? It was a tight game, had the kickoff. I figured it was Caleb Johnson.
It was Caleb Johnson.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't think that he had to go pick up the ball. He thought it'd be a dead ball or whatever. And we recovered in the end zone. It was a touchdown, and we won 31-17, but it was close until that moment. And special teams completely changed that. We were 0-1. Because we lost at home to the Niners, and a special teams play on the road in Pittsburgh in a tight game, it changes the entire trajectory of the season.
It changes everything.
Yeah.
And I always say, I will give Arthur Moats credit. I collaborate with him every week, and he said to me multiple times, he was like, you don't know you have a good special teams until you have to start talking about special teams. And then the other thing that I always say is like, you don't realize the impact either. Because the impact is it's game changing. Yep. A blocked punt or a kickoff return for a touchdown, like all of those things are like game changing instant plays. And so, I think that is one thing Seattle did so well last year, where I was just thought this team is solid everywhere. And that's why I said the Patriots don't have a chance, and everyone thought I was crazy. But it's true.
I was with you.
Yeah, it's true. It's all around just a better team everywhere. And so I love that. Awesome. Let's get into the fun round. I'm interested to see what you say about some of these. So, Okay, quarterback confidence on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being get this guy out of here. 5 being yes, please.
I have to give Sam a 5, and very quickly, it's because against the Rams 2 times in a row, the Thursday night football game, and then the NFC Championship game, right? So the second and third game, he outdueled Matt Stafford, the MVP. I'm not like, oh, Sam's top 5 and I'm going to stand on that corner. I think Sam's a darn good NFL quarterback, but in the biggest moments of the year last year, he did it. And how is that not he helped us win that chip. So in a big, big way. No, Sam, we're not beating the Rams once last year. So that's
no turnovers in the playoffs, right?
Correct. Only Super Bowl champion to ever not have 0 turnovers in the history of the NFL for the playoff.
That's remarkable.
Run. It's crazy.
Good for him. Coaching staff trust level from 1 to 5.
That's a 12. This is extraordinary.
Well done.
I don't know about Fleury, who's our new OC. So we just don't know yet. So I can't knock it. But it's Mike McDonald, Adam Dirty. It's Harbaugh. That's our special teams coach, by the way. It's one of the Harbaughs. It's one of the best coach staffs in the league, and that's it's very, very clear week in, week out.
Okay. Who do you think will carry the team this year, offense or defense?
It's still defense.
Okay.
It is still a defensive led team. And then the offense knows how to keep the ball. And I mean that in a really good way, like retain the ball, put up enough points and be explosive when they need to be explosive. But this is defense. And then that's great. That's my style.
Okay. If you can trade drafts with any team, you take their drafts, draft picks. They get your draft picks. Who would you trade with?
I really like I was pooping on the Jets earlier, but I like the Jets draft. I like the Jets draft a lot. I would not have taken Sadiq where they took Sadiq, but I'm just not a big, hey, the super athletic-y tight end person. I like tight ends that are maybe, I don't care that they can run a 4-3. I want tight ends that can do all the tight end things. But again, I mentioned D'Angelo Pons earlier, and they got Cooper, right? Yeah, they got Omar Cooper.
Yeah, Omar Cooper.
So, just between those two dudes alone, and then they take David Bailey first with Texas Tech. I think he'll be great. I don't know. The second pick was really tough this year because there wasn't like a Myles Garrett staring you in the face. Should they have taken Reese? Hard telling, not knowing. But for me, the two Indiana kids where they got them, really exciting talent there. Okay. So I'm not sure I would swap it one for one because it's different needs, but I really liked what the Jets did there. And that's hard for me. I grew up on Long Island, Flawed. I do not like the Jets. I do not like the Jets. I grew up being like, I hate this team. I grew up on Long Island and I became a Seattle fan. That's how much I was repulsed by the Jets.
You're like anybody but these guys.
I just, I could have chose the Giants. I chose Seattle, thankfully. But the Jets were always, not my favorite squad.
That's fair. If your team had this always happens moment, like here we go again, this always happens. So gosh, here, Seahawks being Seahawks, what would that be for you?
Oh man. I'm not trying to be cocky or be an a-hole. I think that kind of went away. Like we didn't have a lot of that this last year. So in years previous, what I can say is, and I loved Coach Carroll, but towards the end of his tenure, we were just getting run over all the time. Our defense you could run all over us. Like Josh Jacobs one day put up I think 1,200 yards in one Monday Night Football game against us. And it was just so frustrating. Then the Bears put us out of the misery one year. And the Steelers 2 years ago was kind of like Carroll's last game. You guys ran the ball down our throats.
We came up,
And it was just like, why do we have this pattern here where we cannot hang late in games? I don't want to give a non-answer, but there's nothing glaring about this Mike Macdonald team where you get done with 60 minutes and you see let's say a quarter of a season and you go, man, this thing keeps showing up and it's bad. The only thing I will say is we could use a little bit more speed off the edges. And I'm not sure we're going to get it. We did not draft edge. A little more like quick pressure on quarterbacks. And some of the better teams, like the Rams, for instance, they found ways to still put up a lot against us. But, 95% of the teams did not have that kind of success. But I sure would like to put a little more fast pressure on Stafford this year.
Okay. And then if you could send a message to your GM or your owner, what message would you send to them?
So the owner one, I think, is the interesting one for Seattle because they are for sale. So if you got, 10 or $12 billion laying around, Flawed, we could go in.
Let me go search my bank account after this.
Sure,
I'll let you know.
I'm sure it's there. So for the owners and it's, who they sell to and really the next ownership coming in, I hope that they just have an understanding that you're walking into a very professional organization that treats these things like a platform. It's been a good organization. So Paul Allen bought the Seahawks back in whatever it was, 97 or something like that. He was the co-founder of Microsoft, right? So PNW, local hero, billionaire, big money, but you start Microsoft, you get paid. That's how things work. And ever since he took over, and then that started the Mike Holmgren era. That's a great run. We lose in the Super Bowl to your Steelers in 2005. And then, we have Jim Mora Jr. for 1 year. They don't like it. They make a quick change. They get Pete Carroll. Carroll's there for 13 years. He's starting to fade. Okay, it's time to make a change. They get Mike Macdonald. Operationally, it's a very sound organization. Very, very sound. I think it's because the owners have hired really good people, starting with John Schneider, and they let them operate. And they are very happy to raise the 12th flag and raise Lombardis and pay for stuff and let the team do what they're doing. So that's the message is you have a pro squad here. Buy the team, get all hyped up and let the pros do what they do.
Yeah, let the people do their job that you hired them to do.
Correct.
So
Correct. They're really
I
good at
love
it.
that. Yeah, I love that. And before we end here, I just want to say I appreciate you always giving me the random Murphy updates. Like I tell
Yes.
everybody, it's important to me that players from Texas go do well in the NFL
Mhm.
because that also then helps us in college. So it's like this cycle of like, hey, we have a Super Bowl champion that came from Texas, homegrown, like we built him too, So it's always nice to get that inside information because I don't always see it as much as I used to, just because they kind of fall out of my algorithm at some point.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to get those updates from you. So thank you for that. And then thank you for just always being so supportive, being so present. I know this year I was able to come and chat with you all before we played each other this year. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate amazing football conversation. And I always just love people that are just passionate about their teams because it's more fun when you're passionate about your team. So I appreciate you for that. And thank you as always. And then I will shut up here in a second, but before we end, I will end on you, but all of your information will be in the description. So if anybody wants to know where you're at, and then I have learned how to add people as collaborators. So I will also do that for you so that it will just pop up and it should be a little easier, but sometimes it takes people a little minute to figure it out. Mm-hmm. But again, just thank you. I appreciate you. And then whatever you say, we'll end with you.
Okay. Well, thank you. And all the nice things you said, I would just say them back to you in all sincerity. You're a great collaborator and you do a good job. And it's fun. It's fun. You have a really cool program. So for folks out there, like if you're a Seahawks fan, the only thing we keep saying to people is we've been doing this for like 13 years now. I've been doing it for 9 years. And still, most people don't know what the Seahawkers podcast is. That's fine. But we keep growing. It grows every single year. The best thing you can do is if you like it, we have a lot of fun on our show. Like we have enough analysis and we have a good time. And I think we're pretty entertaining in the way we do it. We have some really unique shows we do that are like only for the season because they're kind of related to the game. But the best thing people could do if they're a Seahawks fan is like share it with 12 other 12s. Be like, hey, this was fun. I like the way these guys talks about football. If you head to the channel, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, you'll see lots of content out there. And mentioning one more dude, you mentioned Texas. So we sat down with Earl Thomas again pretty recently.
Okay.
He came back
Shout out
on.
to Earl.
Shout out to Earl. Shout out to Texas. And we were just sitting down with Riley Mills out of the draft party. And I got to meet Warren Moon, so it's a nice mix of some insider stuff, but really, hopefully just dudes you'd like to sit around with, have a beer and talk Seahawks football.
I just want to say too, like plug for you all. Also, if you like football, it's a good watch too, because yes, some stuff is like Seahawks centric. You're a Seahawk, like obviously,
of course,
but there's also some other things in there that you can take and either apply it to your team, or you can say like, that is a good topic that I can think about. So that's what I like about it is if you're just a football fan, sometimes it's nice to hear people, like I said, talk about the nuances and talk about things that aren't just team specific. So that's what I like. So if you're listening to this and you just want another podcast to listen to that, it's about Seahawks, but like you can apply some of these things to your team or your football knowledge. Always a great listen. So just anyways, my personal opinion.
I appreciate that. Hey, look, winning a Lombardi's is not for everybody. So if you like talk around winning Lombardi's, hit us up.
There it is. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you.